Do you want me to take you inside the Federal Reserve's private temple? It's right here on Jekyll Island.
I've seen enough videos of people posting rubbery watermelon. I can't believe I got one.
Siri is getting a massive AI update, and it's going to have total access to your phone and all the information in it.
Yes, sir. My trigger. Back up in this thing, man. Today, we'll be taking a look at some creepy videos that are breaking the internet. Let's get it.
These people were stuck upside down like this for about half an hour at an amusement park. So this park called the Oaks in Portland just had a massive incident today. You see, this ride got stuck and locked in probably the worst position possible for the people riding it. And they were stuck upside down like this, completely helpless for at least half an hour. Now this incident was so bad that the entire park had to be shut down, and many paramedics and firefighters had to show up to the scene to assist the people that were upside down. Now eventually the ride did end up starting back, but sadly for the people on it, they were swung back and forth a couple of times before getting off, and since they had just been hanging upside down for at least half an hour, I don't think that was good for their bodies.
I know everybody on that ride is probably traumatized. If this happened to me, I probably wouldn't be able to step foot in another amusement park for the rest of my life.
Ooh, I thought I was mad about the Amanda Bynes stuff before, and now people in my comment section are just telling me for the first time that amandtoplease.com is just us saying a man to please.
I'm the president of Amanda's fan club, so I have my very own award-winning Amanda website, www.amandaplease.com.
Amandaplease.com was really just us 10-year-old girls running around saying a man to please. Thanks to Dan Schneider, just a big sick joke that we were all a part of. I mean, I loved that bit. I thought Amanda Bynes was so funny. I loved the Penelope skit of her being like, amandaplease.com. I was one of those girls running around and saying that. And that's thanks to Dan Schneider.
I have my own Amanda website, www.amandaplease.com.
What the were all the adults doing in the 90s? That's what I need to know.
And I bet the only two people in the world that probably actually thought this was funny was Brian Peck and Dan Schneider. I don't know how they got away with it this long, bro. I'm questioning my entire childhood now.
The new iPhone update is kind of freaking me out. I don't know if you've seen this, and I know a lot of people think it's cool, but listen to this. So the front-facing camera will now lock onto your eyes and track them as they move. And then with this, you'll be able to swipe and press physical buttons with your eyes. This is going to be awesome for people with physical disabilities, but this is going to be on all of our iPhones. Anyway, this is the scariest part. So Siri is getting a massive AI update, and it's going to have total access to your phone and all the information in it. For example, this is what it's going to be able to do, and this is an example from Apple. It says that you can ask Siri to retrieve information from emails like check when their mom's flight is landing, or locate an image of your license and extract that info and fill out a form for you. This is what it's saying. You can ask Siri to find an email for you. You can tell Siri, yo, find an image from 2 years ago of me and my friend, or find a picture of my license and give it to me, and it will. Any kind of information on your phone, you can ask Siri for it and she'll give it to you.
The accessibility aspect sounds great, but I'm not sure how I feel about giving AI access to everything on my phone. That sounds like a hacker's dream.
Chateau de Amlois, basically the Mothers of Darkness castle, built in 1849, deep in the forest in Belgium. But the rumors around this castle are that it is one of the meeting places for the Illuminati. And it's believed that there is a sect of witches refer to themselves as the Mothers of Darkness who live on the castle premise, and they perform the rituals. And it's believed that these witches come from a very old satanic families. And supposedly these witches, they take girls and they brainwash them and make them become witches. But what's crazy is that this couple went to go look at the castle, and there was this gate that was open, and they both went in, and there was a door that was open. The girl walked in, door shut. And then he went up and was hitting the door and stuff and like, hey, let her out and stuff. And basically they called the cops on him. He got arrested, and he's like, my girlfriend is in there. Yeah. Never seen her since.
Just gone?
Gone. And they can't do anything about it.
If this story is true, then his first mistake was visiting a castle where A, they do Illuminati rituals, and B, a cult of witches named the Mothers of Darkness live. I don't know what he thought was going to happen.
So I was in my house and I heard like an explosion. And y'all look in the sky. What is that? Somebody please tell me.
Maybe that explosion he heard somehow created a perfect smoke ring, or it's the exhaust from an aircraft, but it looks like a UFO took a massive hookah rip.
Yesterday, the U.S. Congress voted 57-1 to ban the DJI drones as part of a larger defense spending bill that's likely to pass. There's still some more regulatory hurdles, but the fear is that the Chinese government can tap into the Chinese-owned DJI's drone data for surveillance and espionage. If the bill passes, DJI would be added to an FCC list that blocks DJI drones from using communications infrastructure, rendering them unusable. DJI technology was game-changing and pioneered both the consumer and commercial drone industry, and today, DJI dominates the market. A ban on DJI drones is good news for U.S. drone makers, but not great for U.S. consumers and not great for driving competition and innovation in the drone industry. And what's next? I use a Chinese app, web conferencing, webcam, and have a Chinese mic. In today's geopolitical climate, the concern is about espionage and surveillance and whether the U.S. can compete economically. What do you think about the drone ban?
I currently own a DJI drone, and the software already doesn't allow you to fly over certain sensitive areas, so I'm not sure what they're worried that they could be spying on. But if they do pass this, I hope they also wrote in the bill how to get everybody a refund.
I cut watermelons for my kids, and they're all bringing it right back, saying they don't like the texture. I've seen enough videos of people posting rubbery watermelon. I can't believe I got one. I got a rubbery watermelon. The texture is so weird. Like, you gotta bend it so far before it will break. This is a really thick cut, so that one was easier. I don't know about the watermelon this season. And with the prices, this is like an $8 watermelon. They're not going to eat it. They won't eat it. They think it tastes, the texture, it's rubber. What makes a watermelon turn rubbery?
I know there's going to be some people in the comments saying that this is normal, but I've never seen a watermelon do this, and the fact that it doesn't have seeds tells me everything I need to know. This might be an appeal spray melon.
A homeowner is left baffled after his smart washing machine uses 3.6 gigabytes of internet data in one day, which to me is just outrageous. That's like a whole movie on Netflix. That's like watching Damsel or Lord of the Rings. And I have to ask, what is the smart washing machine doing with all of that data? Now, to add some context to this does appear to be a temporary spike. It hasn't done this on other days, and it does appear to be an unusual occurrence. And LG has been talking to the customer, because it's an LG smart washing machine, to try to figure out what happened. But here's this network usage graph just for the LG Smart Laundry 2 device, and you can see it's uploading about 150 megabytes of data per hour, which is kind of insane. Now, people want to jump to the smart washing machines are spying on you, because the Samsung and Miele ones require access to photos and location data, which is very wild to me. But LG swears up and down they're not spying. They're hoping it's not part of a botnet. And even if a smart washing machine is spying, I would wager that the amount of data that it would send back would be way, way less than 3.6 gigabytes, because at best, in fantasy land, it could collect a little bit of usage data from your phone, maybe have a microphone on there. It just doesn't seem like a device that should be sophisticated enough to record Netflix movie worth of data and send back.
I don't know why a washing machine would ever need to be connected to the internet in the first place. Even if it is just collecting usage data, it should require zero internet to run a load.
What are you wearing too?
That imaginary friend might not be so imaginary after all. It might be time to look for a new place.
Many claim that CERN's experiments are unlocking something darker than just subatomic particles. Well, let's start with the statue of Shiva. Shiva is the Hindu god of destruction. Some think it's a sign that CERN is tapping into ancient occult powers. There was a bizarre performance where over 600 people, including individuals dressed as goats, winged creatures, and what some claim are demonic figures, all engaged in a series of ritual ritualistic scenes. Then there's a shocking video that went viral that showed what appeared to be a ritualistic human sacrifice. They point to CERN's logo, claiming it hides the number 666, the number of the beast. Now, regarding the Shiva statue, Shiva's dance, which represents the cosmic cycles of creation and destruction, and the CERN logo, it represents a simplified schematic of particle accelerators and beamlines. That viral video of the staged sacrifice was acknowledged by CERN as a prank created by students.
What are the chances that the schematics of the Hadron Collider just happen to look like 3 6s on top of each other? And if that was just a prank, then they went all out. Normally you would just TP the building or something, not do a full ritual.
There's a serious problem going on in the United States that nobody seems to be talking about. Before I go any further, I need everybody to share this immediately and bring as much awareness to this video as possible. If you don't think that this could affect us all, you really need to think twice. Eastern Idaho farmers may soon be out of water after the state issued a major curtailment. As you can see, the state of Idaho and the Idaho Department of Water Resources has issued this curtailment of 500,000 acres. That's basically 781 square miles of farm ground that is being taken out of production. Let's do keep in mind, right? Idaho's 25,000 farms and ranches produce more than 185 different commodities and are ranked in the top 10 in the U.S. for production of more than 25 crops and livestock. That is in fact true. And not just Idaho, but California and a lot of other federally owned states as well. How ironic, right? Federally owned land. Specifically 640 million acres, which is about 28% of the total land area of 2.27 billion acres. So just to put that in perspective for you, right? Now let's do keep in mind, right? In fact, California leads the nation in growth and production of many different crops. And as you can see, California grows 99% of the commercially produced crops in the United States. So if there's water restrictions on the most agricultural producing states in the United States, what do you think that'll do to the United States food supply?
My question is, how much of these 500,000 acres that were chosen for water curtailment are owned by family farms compared to corporate farms? Because if we learned anything from our past, then it's probably going to only impact the family farms.
They've been keeping this from you. This is the underground city that was found beneath Los Angeles by a man named Warren Shufelt. It was discovered using a device he invented to detect underground tunnels and caverns. Shufelt mapped out a network of passageways stretching for miles beneath the city. And here is where it gets crazy. His maps indicated a central chamber filled with gold and advanced artifacts. Shufelt said that upon analysis of the artifacts and the scriptures found within the passageways, they all pointed to a lost continent named Lemuria. Despite his groundbreaking findings, city officials abruptly shut down his excavation. They officially claimed that the tunnels were old subway lines. But this is where they messed up. The Los Angeles subway system didn't begin operation until 1990, over 70 years after Schufelt's discovery. So what subway lines were they referring to? Some speculate that they were referring to an ancient civilization that had access to a subway-like system. Some have even gone further to say that the city officials had knowledge from the future. They knew that Los Angeles would eventually have a running subway system in the years to come, therefore it would be the perfect cover-up, perfectly concealing its true origins.
And the fact that city officials said that these are old subway tunnels, even though they didn't officially start building the subway system until the 90s, corroborates the mud flood theory in general. I just wonder what they're being used for today. We know from previous videos that the Playboy Mansion might have been using them, but who else owns a house in LA that could be using these?
Do you want me to take you inside the Federal Reserve's private temple? It's right here on Jekyll Island. It was George Vanderbilt's private chapel or temple, but with the gargoyles all over the outside. As we step through the front door, you can see that those gargoyles continue all the way up to the front altar. And that's next on the trumpet. As soon as they said it was made for all these different religions, I knew there was going to be a charm inside. Since dragons breathe out fire all the time, their heads and necks couldn't be burned, so they just tied their heads and necks around the edge of the church. Come on, let's step inside Vanderbilt's private Freemasons Lodge. Whatever you call it, right here. And just in case you think this is not a Masonic lodge, there's King Solomon on the wall right there. Beautiful stained glass. You know, the Federal Reserve was formed on Christmas Eve, in secret, Jekyll Island. And this would have been where they held the Christmas celebrations, right here inside this chapel, or temple, whatever you want to call them. With a he-goat right over the altar. That is not a church, and I am not a Freemason. One of the most ruthless Masons was called fire eaters. The last load of slaves ever to come into the continental United States came to Jekyll Island. When I asked a guy to go show me where the Federal Reserve was formed, he took me right inside that place right there. George Vanderbilt lived right there, and that was his personal tower. The Federal Reserve was formed right down there in that room. And that temple that we were just at is right behind my shoulder, behind that tree. The next place I'm taking you is through the locked door where the Federal Reserve met for the first time, the 6 elite banking cabal that ended up owning the world.
It's still wild for me to think that the Federal Reserve was concocted by a few people with no power of government at a vacation home. They couldn't have thought everything through.
Egypt has basically banned everyone in the world from being able to go underneath the pyramids. For those of you that don't know, there are structures underneath the pyramids that literally go a mile deep. Basically, there are tunnels everywhere underneath these pyramids, and the authorities really just don't want people to see them. What gets even sketchier is the government literally rushed to make this ban possible and immediately closed off all the entrances to the different tunnels. It's rumored that some of these secret tunnels have tools in them that would allow humans to have unlimited electricity.
Whenever they abruptly cut off public access to somewhere like this, I immediately think they're trying to cover up something that doesn't fit in with the history narrative that we've been told, and people start asking too many questions, so it's easier to just shut it down.
There's a big difference between not remembering that I met some guy and some woman on a humanitarian trip where my focus was entirely on what we were there to do, and not remembering whether I went to somebody's island. So I never went to Jeffrey Epstein's island. I did not know him, and I never saw him or her after that morning at Buckingham Palace. He didn't even come to Buckingham Palace. She was only there.
Is it true that Prince Andrew sought your assistance and wanted you to testify that Ghislaine Maxwell was your guest, not his, during that Buckingham Palace tour?
I heard a report about that, but at no time did anyone ever contact me on his behalf. And as I say, I'm not friends with him. I never saw him after that day.
It sounds like he's trying to distance himself. You would never hop on a random person's plane that you have zero acquaintance with. He needs a better story than that.
Scrying is an act of divination that requires a mirror, oftentimes a black mirror, to discover hidden knowledge, receive guidance, or contact entities. Scrying is not inherently evil, but it has the ability to contact positive entities as well as negative entities, what some call demons. When we surf the internet on our laptops and phones, which are black mirrors, we are aligning with the vibrations of whatever content we're watching or reading. The internet is not simply a man-made technology. It's connected directly to the etheric plane, a non-physical subrealm which processes all thoughts and actions. It's been called the Akasha in Hindu thought, hence the name the Akashic Record. The astral light that shoots out of the center of our plane, coming from the black sun, is what this realm is powered by. The internet was initially released as the Ethernet, referring to the etheric plane.
Now I'm actually questioning why our phones look like little black mirrors. I just want to use it to contact people I know, not dark entities.
This man built an anti-gravity levitating machine using beetles that could turn invisible. Viktor Grebennikov was a self-proclaimed Russian scientist, biologist, entomologist, and paranormal researcher, best known for his claim to have invented a levitation platform that operated by attaching dead insect body parts to the bottom of it. It all happened by mistake one day while trying to look at a beetle shell under a microscope. When he went to put another one in, it slipped out from his tweezers and hung in the air while rotating. He claims certain natural materials, especially beetle wing cases, have anti-gravity properties. These materials allow them to interact with the Earth's magnetic field to cancel out gravity. Is this why the scarab beetle was the most popular amulet in ancient Egypt? His discovery of this technology allegedly allowed him to invent an anti-gravity platform powered by this cavity structural effect. The gravity plane is described in his book My World and could achieve speeds up to 1400 miles per hour while invisible and completely silent. The device had the ability to avoid detection because it was able to bend light around it. Anyone who observed it from the ground saw instead of it a light sphere or a disc or a cloud with sharply outlined edges. After the publication of his book, he was told it was forbidden to publish his information, and his book was censored.
I don't know if he ever had this research peer-reviewed or if he was ever able to prove that this works, but if the key to anti-gravity is beetle wings, then they would probably already be extinct right now once the military heard about that.
This is the most haunted place on the entire Earth. Just wait till you see some of the photos and video evidence from inside this place. This is 30 East Drive, located in West Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. This is reported as the most haunted place in the UK and one of in the entire world, with multiple families families just rapidly leaving the property, even one family just completely abandoning their home back in the 1970s. If you're easily scared, just keep on scrolling right now. I'm not going to warn you again. The poltergeist that is known to live here is known as the Black Monk. And that's because back in Tudor times, a monk used to live in this property, or at least in the area, and was unalived for being pretty damn bad. And it's believed he stays in this house now because, you know, he owns it. People have reported seeing lights flickering, objects randomly moving, writing appearing on the walls and the floor. And when you dig even more into the history of this place, these sounds just become even scarier.
What the hell was that? Huh?
Now, the house is actually owned today by a guy named Bill Bungray, who is an American horror film producer, but despite owning the house, he's never stepped foot inside it, let alone spend a night here. Now, you can actually go to this place, I think. I'm not sure how, but people have stayed here and done overnight things in here.
If I'm the film producer that owns this, I'm filming one blockbuster hit movie and then having it demolished.
The fact that you can find the remnants of the giants of this realm in nearly every civilization, from pictures, paintings, weapons, even depictions of them in Egypt building the pyramids. Yet that is not enough for the many still plugged into the system. This is the globalist system, ran by the parasites that have rewritten our history, hidden the true nature and properties of this realm for profit and control. Because one thing people always ask me, well, what's the point of lying about giants? What's the point about lying about the mud flood? It's not any one thing particularly, yet it's a link in a much larger chain of events. It's not a joke or some catchphrase when we say they've lied to us about everything. Because of people unaware of their true past, their true origins, their true capabilities, are all that much easier to manipulate and control. And you see it still today in the media, all about manipulation and control. In politics, all about manipulation and control. It's all one big giant system. One of the best things you can do to break out of that system is to question everything, friends. Until next time.
I can't say for sure if giants ever existed or not. I just know a normal-sized human could never wield a sword this size and definitely couldn't load up a cannon this big without severe back pain after.
You see, if you go and visit the very home of the Oscars where they hold it each year, you can see a plaque on the wall that says the Babylonian Court. The camera shows you the stage and you see an unmistakable Tower of Babel embedded into the design. Outside of the Kodak Theater, you have the gate to Ishtar, and you have Babylonian gods put on the outside of the gate. They have the exact elephants. They have the same exact gate of Ishtar. They have the same exact Babylonian gods over the top of the gates.
People come up here, and they thank Jesus for this award. I want you to know that no one had less to do with this award than Jesus.
I'm thankful to the Oscar gods.
The other names of the gentlemen are all gods as far as the category concerned.
When you get this little golden statue, you become a star. In the Egyptian culture, they also had a little statue that represented the god Ptah. And see, when a Egyptian king died, it was believed that his spirit went into the belt of Orion, and he then became a star. Up until 1999, the Oscars was held at a building called the Shrine, which was founded by William Florence and Walter Fleming, two high-ranking Scottish Rite Freemasons. Hollywood has long been interested in Freemasonry. Gene Autry, John Wayne, Nat King Cole, Duke Ellington, C.C. DeMille, Clark Gable, Walt Disney, Oliver Hardy, you name it, the list goes on. Many celebrities have come out and admitted their connection to Freemasonry. You can see the checkered floor, you can see the archways, you can see the sun motif in the background. All of these are letting you know exactly who owns this organization.
That symbolism is identical. They might as well just rename the Oscars to the Freemason Choice Awards.
Researchers say they've identified at least 7 stars that might be surrounded by super advanced alien megastructures known as Dyson spheres. Yes, I said alien structures, and I know what you're thinking, but just stay with me here, because the basic idea was this. Superior intelligent life might build big structures around their home stars or planets as a way to harness or reuse that energy. A 1960s physicist who came up with this idea, Freeman Dyson, argued that if these structures existed, there'd be so much energy that human scientists on Earth could probably spot it because it would emit a lot of infrared radiation. So in this new study, researchers say they found 7 sources glowing in the infrared, those are their words, but couldn't find an obvious explanation for why these sources are glowing so much, which could mean they're Dyson spheres or something else entirely. And what I'm saying is, what? Space is so crazy. I wish I understood it better. So let's talk to a scientist to help wrap our heads around this.
Well, for a civilization to create a Dyson sphere that envelops an entire star, you would have to be thousands, perhaps millions of years more advanced than anything we have. Now, think about it for a moment. A type 1 civilization, maybe a few hundred years more advanced, is like Buck Rogers. They roam around the planet Earth. But a type 2 civilization can envelop the entire mother star and absorb all the energy. Similar to what you might find in Star Trek. Star Trek would be a type 2 civilization. And then there's type 3. And they could whip up a Dyson sphere that can envelop the galaxy with lots of mini Dyson spheres. That's a type 3 civilization. And by the way, what are we? Are we type 1 that can play with planets? Type 2 that we can play with stars, like with a Dyson sphere? Type 3 that we can soar through the galaxy like Star Wars? No, we are type 0.
I was at least hoping he would say that we were a type 1 civilization. Type 0 is a little embarrassing. We need to step it up a little bit, especially if there's civilizations out there with Dyson spheres already.
How strong is the roaring wind at this park in Denver? Strong enough to lift those porta potties and send them flying into the air. Here's the worst part. One of them sprays, something all over the place. Those porta potties weigh up to 300 pounds. The freak wind also played havoc with their tents. Parents covered their kids with their bodies to protect them from flying debris.
I feel terrible for the person at the end that just got absolutely drenched in juices. I would be showering for a whole week straight if that was me. But that was the video, guys. Don't forget to sub up, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.